Hi, my dear listeners. Once again, this is retired Lt Colonel Samsudeen Sarr, former commander of the Gambian National Army, being back on this Friday, the 10th of November 2023. Continuation of reading my book, Testimony of a Gambian Military Officer and a Diplomat. I'll be reading chapter 16 today. But before going into chapter 16, I would like to express my regret that I'll be skipping 5 chapters following this one. Chapter 17 narrates the events surrounding my elevation in the army following my incarceration. It discusses the circumstances that prompted my promotion to the position of Deputy Army Commander and the initial signs of problems developing between Chairman Jane and Vice Chairman Samate. Chapter 18 is centered on the Farafenya attack carried out by Kufang's rebels, resulting in the tragic loss of 6 of our soldiers. The chapter delves into the planning of the attack, the individuals involved, the role of the Senegalese government, and the reasons behind the attack's unexpected ferocity, despite the potential for prevention. Chapter 19 marks a significant turning point in the narrative as Chairman Jane begins to seize all the powers of his Vice Chairman, Edmond Samate. The initial struggle threatens to escalate into a major armed conflict that could have jeopardized the regime's stability or even led to its downfall. However, thanks to the intervention of the service chiefs, including the Army, the NIA, and the police, the crisis was averted. But Chairman Jane ultimately achieved his objectives. The revised edition maintains the flow and continuity of the series into 3 generations while providing clarity and coherence in the transitions between chapters. Chapter 20 delves into the Khartoum attack orchestrated from Senegal, providing insight into the people involved, the reasons behind the attack, and the eventual apprehension and execution of the 3 out of the 4 attackers. Chapter 21 shed light on the significant difficulties we face as soldiers under the government, illuminating the impact on our ability to carry out our duties effectively. With the intention of transitioning to chapter 22, I recounted the day I was unceremoniously retired from the army, highlighting the main reasons behind this decision. Ultimately, this chapter also covers my choice to leave the country for the United States in exile a month later. From this point on, the book's narrative shifted to a different period, chronicling my life and that of my family in the USA, where we became naturalized citizens. We initially believed we will never return home as long as the APRC remained in power. Subsequent chapters will reveal the circumstances surrounding my reconciliation with Jane and his decision to appoint me as Deputy Ambassador at the United Nations in 2015. This role continued until 2017, following Jane's defeat in the 2016 presidential election by President Amadou Barry, the current president of the Gambia. I will share the pivotal role I played during the political impasse, the significant involvement of Senegal, and the instrumental role played by Jane's ambassadors abroad in his downfall. The book extensively covers the rise and fall of the coalition government that succeeded the APRC government and the ultimate NPP-APRC coalition that re-elected President Barry in 2021. It also discusses the appointments of APRC executive members in the current government and the expectation of the Gambian people in 2026 when President Barry completes his 5-year mandate. This sequence makes the book a comprehensive narrative spanning 3 generations of Gambian presidents, starting from President Sir Dembo Jawla, then President, then President Haja Jane, and finally President Amadou Barry. I may not reveal every detail in this sequence to preserve a market for potential buyers of the book. I would like to note that the process of editing, proofreading, and layout design has been quite costly. At this moment, I am faced with a bill of $53,000 from Fuladu Publishers in Banjul for the final editing, proofreading, and layout, which is only a fraction of the total publishing cost. To ensure the consistency of the story, I may need support from my listeners to cover this initial cost. I will post the Fuladu Publishers invoice on my page for everyone to see. Your contribution will be greatly appreciated if it will help bring this narrative to its completion. Chapter 16, Resumption of Duties at the Army Headquarters. The Army Headquarters was facing numerous unresolved problems. It was the first time in the history of military establishment in the Gambia that there were no foreign advisors or administrators present to guide the Gambian administrators on what to do. There were no British, no Senegalese, no Ghanaians or Nigerians around, as had always been the norm. None of the retained officers to run the army had the necessary advanced training and experience beyond, at most, commanding a battalion. Their educational standards in both military and civil matters were average. Commander Bakari Chara was the only one with some working knowledge of how the headquarters was managed by the Nigerians. He had been an assistant to Major Maman, a Nigerian who was an assistant to Colonel Akoji, while Colonel Akoji was subordinate to Commander General Abubakar Dada. Jara was never among the decision makers under the Nigerians, but he was exposed to some of the administrative procedures and was familiar with the routine of his work conducted at the headquarters. All other officers with similar experiences were dismissed by the second lieutenants, who all promoted themselves to captains. Therefore, Jara had to settle for the 5 remaining GNA captains left with him: Captain David Costa, Captain Jibril Jabi, Captain Lawrence Chata, Captain Famadi Ann, Captain Mamadi Ba, and myself. Captain Mamadi Ba, the first commander, who was displaced and succeeded by Commander Jara, was, after serving briefly as commissioner in one of the regions in the country, was reinstated to the army. However, it was an entirely new situation for everybody, including Commander Jara, and he was not too keen to try anything new. He simply wanted to continue the same policies put in place by the Nigerians. The old Nigerian army training team policies on administration, organization, and operation of the Gambia National Army were all to stay the same. Commander Jara may have also realized the huge difficulty he would have faced in that early stage of the coup had he tried to initiate and implement any new policies on the watch of the junior officers in power. It was clear to him that he was now at the mercy and command of once the most junior officers in the army, which limited his ability to deliver adequately as commander. Former Second Lieutenant Samate and Second Lieutenant Singate, both captains now, were enough trouble to confuse anybody trying to initiate anything progressive in the post-coup d'etat GNA. Hence, Army Commander Jara adopted a shrewd tactic of appointing his personal aides based on officers he trusted rather than anything else. Among the remaining army captains, Commander Jara's first choice was Captain David Costa. The officer became his right-hand man because of his outstanding English communication skills. He was a disciplined officer, calm, resourceful, and above all, very accepting. He will not hurt anyone, undermine any authority, or argue about anything, even if circumstances necessitated him to do so. In a nutshell, he was the typical survivor. He knew what to say, understood when to walk or run, and would do anything to keep away from controversial issues or trouble in general. Who would blame him under the precarious circumstances? For Commander Jara to function effectively in the absence of foreign military advisors, Captain Costa was the perfect officer whose presence gave meaning and resilience to his authority. The commander in those days did not believe in most of us. He wanted the government to retain his peers, like Major Abdoulaye Konare, Captain Fare Sise, and Captain Hamad Charen in the GNA, a demand the AFPRC government outrightly rejected. There was Captain Jabi, whom Samate wanted to keep in the system, but the officer was unable to cope with the new situation. He was one of the first officers commissioned in the Gambia National Army, and his skills in performing and commanding ceremonial military parades at national and local levels were impeccable. But beyond that, he was ambitious and frolicsome. But for special and unknown reasons, Captain Samate just wanted the captain retained in the army. One may recall that the captain was very defiant at Farefanye barracks on the day of the coup, arguing that he would not take orders from anybody other than the then Nigerian acting commander of the army, Colonel Akoje. Arguably, if orders were jailed for doing anything wrong to sabotage the coup, I thought Captain Jabi should have been among the first detainees at Mile 2 Central Prisons for that behavior. However, Commander Jara unwittingly contributed to the downfall of Captain Jabi's career in the summer of 1995, when he arranged for Captain Jabi to attend a command and staff college course in Ghana. At the same time, I was sent to the same academy in Ghana to attend the junior division course. Both of us received the usual course allowances, a substantial amount of money, duly paid to prospective students a week or two before departing for foreign training. Unfortunately, Captain Jabi never made it to Ghana. After receiving his course allowances, he disappeared in the greater Banjul area until he ran out of money, which led to his reluctant dismissal by Samate. Another officer, Captain Lawrence Jata, was fortunate to be away in America for a course when the coup occurred. However, he returned home promptly after the Americans imposed sanctions on the military government. Despite being a signal officer with limited responsibilities in the infantry headquarters, he was given an office and an official car by the commander with virtually no duties to perform. As for me, it didn't come as a surprise that the officers formed opinions about my release and reinstatement, especially while my counterparts were still under detention. Many believed that it was the mysterious work of some good marabouts that earned me my freedom and brought me to my current position. Others, however, understood that the government had merely fabricated lies against me, leading to my eventual release and reinstatement to help staff the understaffed army headquarters. The situation with the State Guard Battalion and the sub-unit of guards under Jane and Samate's control was particularly concerning. Although officially considered part of the GNA, they operated independently, with those under Jane answering directly to him and those under Samate listening to only the Vice Chairman and Minister of Defense. It was a dangerous and confusing post-coup d'etat setup with significant issues to address. When I reported for duty at the headquarters 2 weeks after my release from detention, Captain Costa, who now occupied the same office as Colonel Akoji, received me. I was assigned to Colonel Owanubi's office and role, the Nigerian once in charge of overseeing overall army operations. Commander Jara indeed took over General Dada's office. My new office was unchanged from its previous state under the Nigerian colonel. It was, however, obvious the vice chairman and Minister of Defense, Captain Edmond Samate, was the one in complete control of the army. Any decision or policy implementation required his written approval or a confirmation from his office over the phone. He literally held the final say on all matters. For instance, shortly after I reported for duty, Captain Costa received an urgent message from Mile 2 prison about Captain Keba Topper's serious illness and the need for immediate medical attention. Despite Captain Costa's efforts to convey the urgency to Captain Samate, the defense minister expressed indifference and refused to be bothered about Captain Topper's sickness. Even when the prison authorities emphasized the severity of Captain Topper's condition, Samate hesitated, taking 24 hours to give the green light for a medical doctor to examine him at the central prison. The doctor recommended the immediate evacuation of the sick inmate to an intensive care unit at the Royal Victoria Hospital. But Samate refused and issued a threatening warning against any attempts to move Topper out. Tragically, 3 days later, on the 3rd of June 1995, Captain Costa informed me with sadness that Captain Keba Topper had passed away the previous night in his cell at confinement block number 1. A post-mortem was conducted on the body at the RBH with Captain Pate Samate as a witness. All the other officers asked to attend the post-mortem, including Captain Costa and myself, declined to do so. After the death of Topper, another tragic incident occurred when the finance minister, Ousseynou Kama Cisse, was killed, causing further confusion within the headquarters. The assassination of the minister was believed to be orchestrated by the Samates, while Chairman Jane was away attending an African Union summit in Ethiopia. Upon Jane's return, he openly proclaimed his innocence regarding the finance minister's death. In an attempt to express condolence, he visited the minister's parents at their family house in Dipakunda, where he was observed shedding visible tears while sympathizing with Kama Cisse's mother. Commander Jara later informed me that Jane also had suspicions about Samate due to the hostile relationship between the defense minister and the finance minister. The death of finance minister Kama Cisse severely damaged the army's reputation and public trust, prompting Commander Jara to convene a damage control meeting in his office. In attendance were Captains Costa, Jata, and myself. During the meeting, Commander Jara expressed his deep sorrow for the loss of the minister, as he was among the last to see him alive before the fatal incident. On the night of the tragedy, we were all at the airport bidding farewell to Chairman Jane as he departed for the African Union summit. Commander Jara called, having a conversation with the minister, who assured him that he had allocated the army's full financial allocation in the budget plan for the upcoming fiscal year. The commander revealed that after Chairman Jane left the airport that night, he noticed that everyone except council members, Captain Edmond Samate, Captain Yankuba Trawale, and Mr. Ousseynou Kama Cisse had left the area. Later that morning, he received a call from the Inspector General of Police notifying him about the death of the minister in a supposed car accident. However, upon reaching the accident scene, Commander Jara became suspicious as there were no signs of an accident, such as skid marks or dents on the road. He suspected foul play and Samate's involvement when the defense minister became the first person to call him, inquiring about what happened. When Samate was told that Kama was killed, he questioned the basis of that conclusion, claiming that others said the minister died from his own car accident. Commander Jarak firmly stood his ground, citing what he witnessed at the scene. Samate, seemingly irritated, then ordered the burnt car to be towed away to Yundum Barracks. However, Commander Jarak refused, stating that the matter was under police investigation and the vehicle was crucial evidence. The incident marked the first time Commander Jarak suspected Samate's involvement in the minister's death. During the meeting, Commander Jarak expressed the gravity of the situation and the negative public sentiment towards the army due to the death of a respected civilian like Kama. The group discussed potential ways to repair the army's tarnished image, and eventually we unanimously agreed to my previous suggestion of going to Liberia to recover the remains of Corporal Lang Banjang and Private Selu Jallo, who were killed in 1990. We hope that the action will help improve the army's reputation in the eyes of the public. Commander Jara entrusted me with the responsibility of leading the mission to Liberia to retrieve the fallen soldiers' remains. Soon after the meeting, he sought the approval of Chairman Jane and Vice Chairman Samate for the trip, both of whom promptly endorsed the proposal. And that ends chapter 16. So you guys have a nice weekend and Juma Mubarak. Till next time. This is retired Lt Colonel Samsudeen Sarr.